Hey, what's up, guys? You are listening to What's the Meta with me, NT, Destin,
Hello.
and Akira.
Hi.
Yeah, it's great that Destin can join us in studio today, and he sounds a lot better too. And unfortunately, Minty couldn't join us today. What's the Meta is a show where a bunch of friends get together and talk about one of their favorite games, Hearthstone. In today's show, we are going to be talking about the news that came out in the last week and also about the arena, which will be a show that will come out in a couple of days. So this is recorded on January 19th, 2014, and let's jump into the news of the week. Destin, why don't you tell us what happened?
At the start of the week, Blizzard actually releases a new patch note, which introduces a lot of changes to cards like Pyroblast, Unleash the Hounds, as well as more importantly, the Blood Imp.
Okay, so why don't we go through each of the changes and talk about what we think about them and how it affects the metagame and, well, the classes in general. Starting off with Unleash the Hounds, which is a hunter card. Right now, before the patch, the mana cost was 4, and what it did was it summoned hounds equal to the number of minions that the opponent had on the board. And now they reduced the mana cost to 2. What do you guys think about that?
I feel that it's a very, very good good buff to it, but to let it get to the most utmost potential, I think we'll give it a few more weeks for people to test it out and see how it goes. Personally, I like it to be it has good synergy with the hunter cards itself.
Okay.
Especially Timberwolf, which gives
+1 attack.
+1 attack to your beast.
All beasts, right?
Yep. So it's practically 6 damage for 2 costs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a good AoE like what they suggested.
That's true.
Akira, what's your thoughts?
Initially, I'm rather skeptical of it because on paper, Unleash the Howl looks like just an arcane explosion.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, but on closer inspection, he has really, really good synergy with all the hunter cards.
Mhm.
As mentioned earlier, you can combine with Timberwolf to bring it to a 2-1, which could pretty much give you a very good trade with your opponents.
Yeah, it's like a cheaper force of nature, basically.
Correct. Yeah. And to add to that, now they have a combo to do in the endgame in the form of Leroy Jenkins together with Unleash the House and Timberwolf.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Arguably, it's a 3-card combo, but then so much more consistent now considering that your Unleash the Hound is so much cheaper, which gives you the extra mana to use your ability to ping for 2 damage.
Yeah, you can play it on turn 6.
7, if
And
you want a
7,
Timberwolf as well.
Yes.
I think the Timberwolf is really crucial in
Yeah, that's true.
putting in extra damage.
There's also a lot of synergy with things like Starving Buzzard and Scavenging Hyena, which all play off the fact that these hounds are all basically cheap beasts, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So next up on the list, Pyroblast mana cost has been moved up to 10, up from the current 8. Yeah, that was pretty much seen coming from a mile away, right?
Finally, initial thought was it should be included in the previous patch.
Yeah.
Where they nerfed all the frost spells, including Cone of Cold as well. Pyroblast has been a really big problem throughout the ladder that I've been through.
Yeah.
So this nerf was actually really, really anticipated, but just later than what I expected personally.
True. Akira, anything to add?
Actually, what this does, I think, is it pretty much killed the mid-range aggro mage deck. For the mid-range aggro mage deck, what they do is basically they have a range of minions that goes all the way until 6 mana.
Yeah.
What they do is they try to play a minion at return, and then you go for the opponent straight in the face. You do not care about their bot because you can control their bot with Blizzard and Cone of Cold. But what this does is that for most other decks that does this, they will fall short of damage because after dealing about 20 damage at about turn 6, you realize that you practically run out of resources, and because you've been going for your opponent's face directly all along, basically you'll lose all bot control and everything, and then you have a very hard time to close the game. Pyroblast at 8 mana basically means that you have a
finisher.
Yeah, you have a simple finisher for it. So even now, even though the nerf is now up to 10 damage, not 10 damage.
10 mana.
Yeah, 10 mana.
Yeah.
But it still deals the same amount of damage. So arguably it could be still used as the same finisher. But
They
but
just
what
need
is
to delay for 2 more
correct?
turns.
But I feel that 2 turns is too much of a change for a mid-range aggro mage.
That's true.
Simply because there's what it means is that for Pyroblast, let's say that it's currently at 10 mana. So what you want is you ideally want to draw into it at turn 10.
Yeah.
The minimum you want to draw into it.
Yeah. So you have the maximum amount of options before.
Yeah.
you
So
bring
in order to do so, you want to maximize the amount of Pyroblast you play in your deck. So that's
Right.
about 2 copies. But playing 2 Pyroblast at 10 mana also means that
there are 2 turns where you don't do anything but
correct.
Pyroblast.
There's a very high chance that you'll be a dead draw in your hand,
Oh, that's true.
especially in the early turns. Because
Yeah.
so the 2 mana is a very big nerf to mid-range aggro mage. But as for the control mage, I'm not sure it's still viable or not. But the difference is actually quite minimal for them, considering that when they win, most of the time it's through the giants. Pyroblast is just a extra insult.
Try insult.
Okay, so next up, another nerf. This time for the Warlock card, Blood Imp. So Blood Imp is now a 0/1 that reads Stealth. At the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion +1 health. So this pretty much turns it from across the board buff of 1 health to all minions to Stealth. What's that?
Young
mean?
Priestess.
Young Priestess, yes. What do you guys think? Akira?
Once again, I think it's another nerf to yet another aggro deck. So at 0/1 basically means you can't even trade it for anything.
Yeah.
So it's just basically sitting there and it's just
Giving out
like it's just like a totem.
Oh, that is true.
It's sitting there on your board. I'll say. I think if aggro warlock were to be playable, they will probably drop Blood in because it's too inconsistent for Blood Imp to randomly proc on one of their many minions. It's just unreliable.
Yeah.
But for control warlock, they might consider playing it, considering that the extra 1 health to
Void Walker, say.
not necessarily Void Walker, but anything big you drop. Say, imagine your how to say, like your Sylvanas or any other thing. Imagine your Sylvanas is a 5/6.
Yeah.
You could actually do a trade before you suicide her. There's so much value in it. So basically, the 1 extra health works like a half a Shattered Sun Cleric. You don't get the attack boost, but you get a health boost, which allows your big minions to do more trades than they actually could.
I see.
But comparing to Blood Imp and Young Priestess, how would you put in the ratio of these 2 cards in the deck? Would you put both or drop Blood Imp for Young Priestess?
I think Young Priestess is strictly for aggro decks. Just because it's a 1 mana to 1. It's very good stats for a 1 mana cost.
Yeah.
Blood Imp, on the other hand, will probably go into a control deck if Warlock could actually find a space to squeeze it in. But from what I see now, it's quite I have no idea. Personally, I think it's rather unplayable.
Yeah, sounds like it. Okay, so next change we have is for the Warrior card, Warsong Commander, which now reads, whenever you play a minion with 3 or less attack, give it charge. So this means that the old Warrior OTK deck is now no longer viable. Doesn't really work, but what do you guys think?
Something still can be done with it. Like I'm a big fan of Arthos's first Warrior deck, which he uses it for BlitzCon.
Yep.
The deck actually will just summons a minion with 3 or less attack, Frothling Berserker. What's that Worgen called?
Raging Worgen?
Raging Worgen. Then after that, when it hits the field, you'll just buff it up and just go straight in the face, which it's still good now. It's just for Warsong Commander is the nerf to the OTK
Giants deck.
Yeah. That one actually makes it undoable. But for the past week, people are doing Frothling Berserker OTK as well.
Okay.
Which I think it did bypass the Warsong Commander's nerf to it.
Yeah.
So making Warrior a more slower control deck while still doing heavy damage, it's quite a pretty decent change.
So what's the general premise behind the Frothing Berserker deck? How is it? How does it set up the one-turn kill?
Basically you just throw down a Warsong Commander first, which after that you throw in a Frothing Berserker with all the with stuffs that like Inner Rage deals 1 damage to a minion and gives it +2 attack.
Okay.
It's technically a +3 to a Frothing Berserker. So
Okay.
with that, as well as an immediate charge by the Warsong Commander, it actually gives you the damage that you needed to go straight for the face. It's just heavy damage, but it won't
It wasn't like the 24 damage that you could
Yeah.
do with the Giant stack
That's
before.
correct.
I guess that's a lot more reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mini pyro.
Yep.
Akira, anything to add?
Just to add on to the Frothing Berserker combo, there's actually someone who made a video about it where they throw in another 2 more cards, the Pyromancer and the Commanding Shout. So what the Commanding Shout does is that it prevents all your minions from going below 1 health this turn. And then so what they do is they continuously spam 1 mana or 0 mana cost spells to continuously trigger Pyromancer. And then Pyromancer will continuously damage your minions, but they won't die because of Commanding Shout.
Yeah.
And in this case, it will continuously trigger Frothing Berserker, bringing it up to in his video, he brought it up to 37 attack.
Jesus. Okay. Wow. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. And it also clears the board. Not that it matters. Anyway, so the next card that was changed is also Charge, which has been reworked and now costs 3 mana. And the card's new power reads: give a minion, or rather, give a friendly minion +2 attack and charge. Akira, what are your thoughts?
It's actually way overcost for what it's giving you.
Yeah,
So you're basically
definitely.
paying 2 mana for 2 attack and the extra 1 mana for charge.
Yeah.
So well, the main thing is it stops a lot of OTK that it has. So all like the previous popular OTKs like Alexandra Charge is no longer possible. So even your Raging Worgen with the Faceless Manipulator is also no longer possible. Just because your Raging Worgen and Faceless already takes out 8 mana. You do not have the extra 3 mana to spare for the charge.
Yeah.
So what it does is practically kills any form of OTK that we previously known.
Yep.
And
But it also makes it a little bit too expensive to really consider in any form of deck, don't you think?
yeah, I think it's way overcost. But then I think the other reason is Warrior is now one of the best combo deck, arguably because they have a lot of 0 cost spells, which works really really well with the Auctioneer.
No,
So
that's true.
they can get so much value out of Auctioneer. Imagine it used to be an Auctioneer with a 0 cost charge. So basically you get a free minion and you get back a card for free as well. So that's how the old Warrior OTK combo deck works.
Possibly.
Sets up.
I think maybe the stats that it gives has to be buffed a little bit before it's really worth the 3 mana. I mean, I understand the 3 mana and how it helps to restrict the OTK that can happen, but 3 mana for that, not good enough. Okay, anywho, next up we have Abusive Sergeant, now reads Battlecry, give a minion +2 attack until the end of turn, which is different from the previous one, which was to give a friendly minion +2 attack. Destin, what are your thoughts?
Well, first thought about reading this card is like, was it a really was it just a text change or just was it really a nerf or a buff? But after discussing through with Akira earlier on, he actually says that it really helps you to clear stuff that you previously couldn't, comboing with Big Game Hunter. What's that ogre called? The 667 ogre?
667.
Boulder Feast ogre.
Right, the Boulder Feast ogre.
Yeah, the Boulder Feast ogre. Previously, probably you couldn't kill it, but with this Abusive Sergeant comboing with that Big Game Hunter, it actually allows you to do a 2-card trade for it.
True,
Actually, you're creating
true.
a 1-card trade
Right.
with another minion on the field.
Yeah. Akira, maybe you can explain what else did you think about this card?
I think it's an interesting change.
Uh-huh.
It'll be a cheaper alternative for priest to play around with the attack points. So the main reason is because priest has this Shadow Word Death, which can only target 5 attack and above.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people play around it with the 4 attack minions.
Correct. The thing is, most of the good cards are all 4 attack. You have the Azure Dragons, your Twilight Dragons, they're all 4 attack.
Yep.
So what this does is it gives you a cheaper alternative to deal with your opponent. So previously, from what I read before this change, there are about only 2 priests in the Legends rank.
Yeah.
So what they did to play around with all these numbers is they play the Alchemist, the one that switch your
health and your
health
attack.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what they did to play around with their Shadow Word. So I think with Abusive Sergeant, they give them a cheaper alternative to deal around with to play around with their Shadow Word. But then again, Abusive Sergeant is just a 2-1. It's very weak against mages and druids.
True.
Those with a hero ability that can take out such 1 health minions.
True. Okay, so next, the Dark Iron Dwarf buff now only lasts until the end of turn. Previously, it was a permanent +2 attack, which is great because sometimes I had situations where I didn't have anything on the board and I wanted to play the Dark Iron Dwarf, but I ended up having to buff the opponent, and which not fun. So, what do you guys think?
Personally, this one would be a very, very good a very good nerf towards aggro decks, especially the warlocks.
Okay.
I used to do the combo with Void Walker. So you drop a Void Walker first, then you drop a Dark Iron Dwarf. So making the Void Walker a 3/3, making it able to kill bigger minions.
Most 3 cost.
Most 3 cost and then 4 actually.
Okay.
Making a mid shield as well. So with this, it actually stops a lot of setups also. The one that I just mentioned was a defensive setup with the Void Walker. But then things like it can be used with the warrior decks, which just helps you to buff your minions attack so that you can go straight in the face. So it's not, to me, it won't be a very, very big hit, but yeah, still a pretty decent nerf.
Yeah. Akira?
I think the Dark Iron Dwarf will still be playable.
Yeah.
It's still a good card right now. 4 mana for 4/4. That's what you get for 4 mana card. So the effect, you can think of it as an extra bonus.
Yeah, it's like a 2 charge.
Yeah,
basically.
correct.
Yeah.
So, however, it does nerf the old. Some playstyles will be unplayable. Like if you watch enough of Fight Nights, you'll notice that the players like to do on turn 5 Argon Squire together with a Dark Iron Dwarf. Simply because the Argon Squire has a Divine Shield that allows it to survive the turn. So, basically, you always get 6 damage out of the Argon Squire.
Yep.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, because the buff used to be permanent, but what it means now that play is no longer valid. So Argon Squire might see less play now because there's one less
way to buff it up.
Correct.
Properly. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we'll see. Maybe I think Dark Iron Dwarf itself probably will not be changed out of aggro decks, but maybe we'll see less of Argon Squire. That's because she has much less cards to combo with her now.
Less synergy.
Okay, so next up we have the Defender of Argus, which is nerfed from a 3/3 down to a 2/3. The effect is still the same. To me, it's not really much of a nerf because it's still a very good card. It's still mainly played for the 1/1 buff that it gives to its adjacent minions. What do you guys think?
Definitely still playable. The one attack doesn't really change Defender Argus much. Yeah, like what you said earlier on, you just want it for the battle cry, the +1/+1 as well as taunt. So after it drops on the field, it's practically something for you to trade something off with your opponent. Either way, you'll just earn the trade actually.
Akira?
I think it's yet another major nerf to aggro decks. So a one less attack is like it accumulates over the turns. So you're doing a one less attack every turn. So if you count it in together with like your Dark Iron Dwarf, you do not get a permanent 2 damage every turn. So it's like you're losing 3 damage every turn from now on. So you're really struggling to put in a damage. And 2-3 means that it's very, very weak against 3 drops. It's like most 3 drops are around 3. Correct. So basically, you're only able to trade with a 1 drop or 2 drops, which makes it really, really sad. But then from another point of view, from the control player point of view, they'll continue playing it because it's just so good with giants. Yeah, I mean, your Sun Fury isn't going to be enough. Ideally, you want to play all 4 of them to maximize your chance of getting a ton on your Ancient Watcher and Giants.
True.
So in the end, it doesn't affect the control player that much, but it's a very big hit to aggro player.
Okay. So next up, we have the Novice Engineer, which is now a 1-1 down from a 1-2. Akira, what do you think about this card?
Well, it's a major nerf to a free cantrip card. Cantrip in the sense that it's a free card. Basically, it's a card that allows you to cycle through your deck. Yeah. Bringing it down to 1-1 means that it's very weak against any form of, or most form of hero power.
Yeah.
You're going to take it down instantly. So you won't be able to do any good trades with your Novice Engineer anymore. So from what I see is that players are switching out to other alternatives like
Apago?
Yes, correct. The norm used to be you max out your Novice Engineer and then you play 1 Loot Hoarder. So what players will do now is they will play 2 Loot Hoarder instead, just because it's a much better stats. And then 1 Novice Engineer if you really have to. But if you don't have to, you just play a Net Plaguer. It's so much better now. Even though you do not really get a 1 card, but it's still...
It's harder to deal with at the start of the game. Correct. It's more likely to draw cards for 1 or 2 turns until someone can deal with it.
Yeah, even if you do not draw any card from it, your opponent still have to spend 1 card to take it out. So it's still a 1-for-1. You do not actually lose anything from it.
Yep.
True. Okay, and the last card that was changed was Sylvanas Windrunner, which is now up to 6 mana instead of 5. The stats remain the same and the death rattle remains the same. Akira, what do you think?
This means that players will be really, really tight on choices on turn 6. There's just too many good cards on turn 6. So in addition to Sylvanas, you have your Cane Bloodhoof, you have your Black Knight, and what else do you have? Basically, there's too many good cards at 6 cards. Oh, you have your Argon Commander. What's the other Torrent that has a Divine Shield as well?
The
Sunwalker?
Yes, the Sunwalker.
Yes, correct, the Sunwalker. Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of choices for you now, and so basically you really have to pick what you really want to play on turn 6, and it makes it a bit difficult to adjust your deck as well, because now you have an empty slot for turn 5 as well, and you have to find another substitute for it, and there isn't really any other 5 cost that is on par with Sylvanas in terms of stats. 5 mana 5/5 is just too good.
True that. That brings us to the end of the news segment of What's the Meta. We're still in the process of experimenting with our formats and setting up our site. In the meantime, feel free to leave comments on our videos about what you would like to hear and see from us. Our shows are recorded on Sundays and published on Mondays and Wednesdays. Thank you so much for listening.